Good afternoon. So I did Fisherfield this morning, and I've driven round the corner, as it were, to a parking spot to start the Fisherfield round this afternoon. I've packed very large rucksack with tents and sleeping bags and such like, and I intend to wild camp somewhere on the Fisherfield round. It depends how far I get. So the car park was full, so I've had to pull into a little pull-in further up the road. So we're still on day 34, I guess, but this is to make day 35 a little bit more palatable. Now I'm going to turn the camera around because you can see what's ahead of us. The Fisherfield round. I understand it's up there with one of the hardest routes on the Munros circuit, so you can see why. It looks very rugged, very steep up there. So not sure whether I'm going to head to the bothy or whether I'm going to try and head further round yet. I want to see how I feel. It's a very nice track leading through the trees. Very warm afternoon, so it doesn't help carrying all this weight. I've put extra water on board because I know it's such a warm day, so I'm currently carrying 4 litres of water, which obviously is 4 kilos extra in the sack. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to end up. Quite picturesque, this approach. A series of waterfalls ahead. Looking at the path, it rises quite steeply to that col over there. I think at which point I've got a decision to make as to where I'm going. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma. The track to the left takes me up to the start of the route and some woodland, which I know is suggested is quite good for wild camping. The right takes me up to the Chevenel bothy, which I'm not sure about. Actually, I think I'm going to go to the woodland. So there the trees are down there, so the plan is to find somewhere to camp near them trees and that river. Now in the morning there's a cunning plan. So this big hill here is being a Cladilem, which is 914 metres, which is on the cusp of a Munro. Now very recently I understand it's been relegated and it's just not high enough to be a Munro. Now the Fisherfield round did include that hill because it used to be a Munro. So I am cunningly decided to follow the river path up the glen and turn right and skirt up to the col after the first hill. Now the col's 605 metres, so effectively I'm saving 310 metres of ascent. It's quite steep ascent, whereas the route I'm taking in the morning is quite gentle, gentler. I might regret this. It might be extremely boggy. It's not something I've seen on any guidebook. It's just something I've decided to do myself. So that my Fisherfield round will be at the 5 Munros, excluding this top, which is no longer a Munro. All set up for the evening. Just about to cook some pasta. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely setting. Good morning. Welcome to day 35 of my Munro challenge. I wild camped last night at this woodland about 5 miles in on the Fisherfield round. It's a big day. All the guidebooks suggest you can't do it in a wunner, so you need to make inroads with a wild camp. So by effectively doing this, there's a chance that I will be wild camping tonight But if I get back in time, I'll get back to the car, because it's a 2-hour walk back to the car. So the Fisherfield round, there's 5 peaks. There's Skirgban, which is the white peak. There's Milik Corrie Mick Fashar, which is the summit of the Fashar's sun. Bean Tassoon, which is the transverse hill. Miglagant, which is the maiden. And Radstal Mer, which is the big red stack. So there we go, that's the 5. As I pointed out last night, the first hill up there is no longer a Munro. So we're not going to go up that one. We're going to go up the glen. We're going to skirt up the side to the Col and the Lochan, and we're going to start up there. Yeah, the path I've chosen is going up the glen, following the river marked on the map. So so far so good. I'm beginning to wish I'd put my gaiters on though, because it's very early in the morning and there's a lot of dew about, so I suspect I'm going to get my trousers wet when I start trudging up that side of that hill. So here we are at the Lochan, at the Col, and that's Skirgban ahead, looking very scree and rocky, I have to say. It's not for a breather. Very steep up here, very difficult, very difficult. Wow, what a view, fantastic view. So this is it, Skirgban. Look at that, isn't that breathtaking? That was extremely tough, very rocky, very steep, very difficult underfoot. Wow, that's the next one, looking very steep again. You see the path wiggling up the scree. Oh my god, that's going to be fun. Okay, so I'm looking back. You can see the path skirting down the hill that we've just come, sorry, the Munro that we've just come down. And I want to show you how steep this thing is. That is pretty much vertical. Oh my god. So here we are, Milik Corrie Mick Fashar. Absolutely stunning. So I'm going to give you a quick pano. So that's Skirgban, which we've did earlier, which the one beyond was the what used to be Munro. You can just about make out the top. So really that would be 2 of 6 on this circuit, albeit we didn't do the first. So we're going to skirt round, drop down quite steeply, and climb up to the next one, Bean Tassoon. We're going to skirt round, drop down, climb up to the next one, which is Mahadeen. Again, we're going to drop down and climb up to the next peak, which is Radstal Mer. And then it's a case of making our way round and back. Now if you look at the next one, you notice there's a little flat plateau. Now I remember watching a YouTube video some time about this, and somebody was suggesting that was a tennis court, or it was nicknamed the tennis court. Can you see it? And just looking back at the summit, it's quite a summit really, isn't it? We're skirting this little arête here and about to have a steep descent. Yeah, that was extremely rocky, let's say, descent, quite steep, difficult underfoot, had to be careful. It doesn't look as bad now, getting down towards the Col. Now if you look, that's that little mound there is called Milgab, and we're not climbing over that. There's a footpath just skirting round under the cliffs, which I'm going to take, which saves climbing that one before we before we ascend over there. So guys, this is Chris Terry. Now I've just bumped into Chris and he's got 4 Munros left to do. He's doing 3 of them today and the last one he's doing later in the week.
Yeah, weather permitting.
Weather permitting, but he's got a good forecast. He's just done the Isle of Skye and the Inpin, so he's telling me all about it. Ben Tarsoon. It was quite a steep pull up that bank. You can see where we've been now. These views are a bit special. I walked up this last climb with a chap called Finlay. You can see I've worn him out. And that's the tennis court that we looked at from the other side now, a better view of it. A bit weird, isn't it? So then we're going to drop down, going over there, dropping into the next col, and that's the last one of the day. So hopefully we've broken its back, although you know what the Munros are like. That's a better view of the tennis court, and that ridge line. Now the guidebook suggests the next mountain is a slog. Well, they've all been slogs so far, so for the guidebook to say it's a slog is a bit worrying. So this is the tennis court, as it were. Not as flat as it may be. It looks from a distance. So I followed this rough path around the underneath side of these pinnacles, and I've come to a fork here in the path, and the guidebook suggests it drops steeply down, which that's doing. So I'm going to take this one, then we've got to cross that col, and then we've got a real slog up to the top of the next one. Just looking back off this grassy slope, so you can see where we've been. Looking awesome over there. Just starting to cloud up a bit. To say it's extremely warm, and this this slope near the summit now, but the guidebook was absolutely bang on when it said it's a slog. I have to say I am feeling exhausted at the minute. I think the whole thing is catching up with me. Have a drink of water at the top and a sandwich, it might perk me up. So this is the top of Hamagyan, the Maiden. Sorry, my Gaelic is terrible. And that was a real push. So the top's in cloud now, but we've cut across straight over the top, over the edge here, and you can see the footpath running down the edge over that rocky col, and then it sharply raises up through that scree. It looks quite a climb to the top of the last Munro of the day. I have to say it's extremely rocky col. big rocks, bit of scrambling going on. So last Munro of the day, here we come, and it looks like it's a very steep scree. It's straight up the side. So luckily it's not miles and miles. I think it's about 120 meters of ascent, this one, so just get your head down and go for it. So this is it, Rad Stack Moor. What a day, what a day. Look, all these hills we've been over. The Fisherfield round. Wow, still a way to go to get back. So I'm dropping off the mountainside now, pathless, just wandering between the scree, and I'm going to pick up a footpath which is between the two lochans that you can see down there, and that footpath is going to take me to a stream which I'm going to follow. So I've dropped off the mountain straight down to the lochs, between the lochs, followed the burn down, crossed the burn at the bottom, and I've crossed all this heather, pathless, to find this track here. Now this track's going to take me back until I get to the point where I need to cross the bog, so it's worth finding this path. So I'm at Larak Antivo, for sorry for the pronunciation, but anyway, I thought it was described as derelict, but clearly it's been rebuilt, or there's a new one built. This is where we cross the river, and we've got to head over there to Bothy. Now this next section is described as the worst bog in Scotland, so I'm looking forward to this one. Well, that bog wasn't that bad, but it hasn't rained for about a week, so maybe that was it. But I've just done a second river crossing. The Bothy's over there, but I need to be heading west to the tent, which is over that way. Hi, welcome to day 35, and today I did route number 39, the Fisherfield round. Thursday, the 2nd of September. The car park, I have to say, was full. I did turn up mid-afternoon. So I actually found a smaller pull-in a bit higher up the road, about 100 metres up the road, where I was able to pull in. Before I start, because there's so much to say on such a fabulous day, can I mention a special mention to a chap I met en route, a chap called Chris Terry. It was 4 Munros away from completing the lot. Now Chris has got Parkinson's disease, and he's had it for 10 years, so he's telling me, and his neurologist can't believe what he's doing and able to achieve. So just hats off to him. A remarkable achievement, and he was flying. When I was watching him, he was absolutely flying up that rock. I decided to wild camp. Probably took far too much gear, and I decided to go to the woods rather than the Bothy. Possibly a mistake, because the woods were absolutely riddled with midges. I found I was trying to eat under a net. It was so bad. I got into the tent far earlier than I really wanted to. Midges had got in, so I was trying to sleep with a midgie net on. I had such a bad night. Such a bad night. I actually slept over the slept in because I'd not slept in the night, and when I eventually did fall asleep, I really wanted to be up. Nevertheless, the shortcut that I decided to take was steep, it was heathery, it was boggy, and there was various cliffs and rocks and things that I had to negotiate. So the jury's out, because I had not done the first one, although speaking to somebody later on who described the first one, it's probably a 50-50 which way you'd want to go, because my distance was further. So that said, it was fantastic. In fact, I'm going to describe all 5. Fantastic, 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 and fantastic. Just without exception. The day was just stunning. Views, every single hill was very steep, very scrambly, involved scree, boulders, scrambles, other than the one obviously with the very long slog. So without exception, they're all difficult, and that's up and down. Such a long day. Awesome views, awesome views. The day was so warm. It's extremely warm, probably one of the warmest days in ages, and water, once you'd left the burns earlier on, was quite difficult to get to. Now I was carrying 3 litres, and I still was wanting, it was very tiring, the route. I was tired, but I think the whole episode of the last 35 days was catching up with me. bad night's sleep. I'm a bit dehydrated. I'm probably not eating enough, so I was struggling with 2 hills to go. So my main aim was to get to the bog and cross the bog to Chevenel Bothy in daylight, because I knew time was slipping, which I did in quite good time. And once I got to the Chevenel Bothy, I'd seen on the map it looks to be a flattish path. Well, it probably was flattish, but to me, as tired as I was, it felt very rocky and very undulating to get back to my tent. Now I got to the tent maybe 8:30ish, and I was immediately swamped with the midges again, and I just couldn't face another night in that tent. So I decided to unpitch, unpack, and head back to the car. Rightly or wrongly, because I was in the dark. It's 5 miles over that big hill to get back to the car. My feet were killing. I was fatigued. I was extremely thirsty. It was a real slog. Real. It's the most distressed I've been in the whole episode so far. Anyway, I got back to the car 11:30 at night. I made my way back to the caravan. Had a shower and crashed out. So the day was, from the afternoon before until the end, was a whole 30 miles, 29.7 miles on my Strava. It's difficult to give hours because of various tent pitching and whatnot. I suspect it was about 19 hours, but there was a massive 8,486 feet of climbing. Now, if you exclude the night before to the Bothy, then it was 25 miles. And I suppose if I'd have stayed at the campsite the second night, then it'd have been 20 miles. It's difficult for me to break it all down because there was various tent pitching and unpitching and whatnot. Just superb scenery. It was just awesome. One to remember. It nearly broke me. I have to say, I met a chap called Finley. We walked up one of the hills with. He caught me, and he'd set off from the roadside, and he was running most of it, running, walking, and he was running back to the roadside. So when I was descending off my 4th Munros, I could see him at the top of the 5th, and so he's making inroads on me. Travelling light though, running, but what an achievement. So I think Finley will have done maybe 25 miles because he didn't have to walk back from the Bothy to the tent and round, so it'll have saved some mileage on me, but to run it, I just thought awesome. Fantastic day. Knackering, but well worth it just for the scenery alone.